Hello, architects, engineers, earthlings. I'm an alien from outer space, if there was an outer space. Anyway, I'm having a problem today. I'm not able to find my tie, to put on my neck. Sometimes I wear on my head, so I guess I'm just going to I'm going to wear a hat. I hope that's okay. I hope people will still listen. Anyway, I wanted to go over some of our propulsion techniques. I have a difficulty making these videos because after making them, I realized that there was so much more that I wanted to add, and I don't know how to edit in information. It's bad enough the videos. I don't really know how to edit. I mean, I have watched videos on how to edit out certain things, but it's like too much work for me with everything else going on and living my life and whatever. So to actually go through all the programs, I have too much to share to then it'd be very helpful to have someone who is good with CGI and programming and editing to help make the designs come to life. I'd like to be able to illustrate to the world how to do these things. So really, it would be helpful, hopefully in the future, sometime soon, to have a little bit of help. Because there are 7 billion people in the world, and the concepts for the future are for all the people. So it'd be nice, if some of them, helped carry this cross or this, the world. And, everyone has their gifts, and we want to apply our masters in every sector. The designs and the information given to me is given to me by El, the creator who lives in me, in my chakra, the vibration of life. So the temple is really in the mind. It's the 7th chakra, the most high, which I believe I explained in one of my other videos. I also have another channel called Messenger of NIN. I did have some information on there, and I did have a lot more information than this. And some of those things I was deleting because I was concerned about the sensitivity of the information. I was a little bit worried about people just stealing my ideas and taking credit for it. Not that I mind so much as, if we are able to create these things and create a better world, I wouldn't, be concerned so much about people stealing to create a better world, because that's good for everyone. But more, the problem would be if they steal and take credit for it, and then people are looking at them and they don't have the understanding for the complete picture. So then again, the whole world will be led astray on the sidelines, and we'll just stop again, like we stopped back in the 1600s with steam. We're stuck on steam and gunpowder explosions. Wasn't it the ancient Chinese who developed gunpowder? Like, are we still really shooting guns with gunpowder explosions? Like, wow, that's so old. And so is steam. Okay, we should have electromagnetic guns. Okay, like, let me illustrate for you. Where's my little rod? Here's my little laser. Zzz. Cover your eyes. Okay, let me show you just with this. And the other design that I had for energy. Was it in here? Is this the right book? See, I need a secretary. Silly. That's not what secretaries are for. They're for helping with, they don't wear little mini skirts because, for sex. They're supposed to help organize. Silly rabbit. Anyway, where is, the design I showed you on the other video for energy, the piston drive? I think it was in this book. Even if it is, I could easily go past it. Was it in this book? I have 3 books here. I feel like I had more. I certainly have papers scattered around. And maybe I should have had, a lesson prepared. I have so much like papers and information around me. I'm never sure exactly what we're going to get into. I just know that I want to show you some ships and some propulsion, but we need a foundation. Really, that's why we have to build our energy first. And then we realize that we have perpetual motion, or motion that can increase by using its own energy that it's creating and feed it back into an electric motor to push the drive, the magnet drive, which then turns all the other, I'm speaking of the arc, which will turn all the other 8. Of course, I'm not seeing the picture I want to see. Excuse me, falling apart here. I'm relatively certain it was in this one. I've been over this so many times. Bear with me 1 second here. Grab a cup of tea, something. See, I wish I could just pause the video. Pause, cut. What in the world? Anyway, so we had our cylinder, and we had electromagnets on each end, and we had then a magnet inside of the cylinder, and our electromagnets, could be positive on both ends, which this positive would push against this positive, and the negative side of this would attract to this. So it would make our magnet go whoop, and then we just switch the charge. Okay, now that's the same idea. Not only, we don't have to just put the electromagnets on the ends, but we can put them along the tube. And then just with timing, whoop, right? A magnetic field, synchronize, and we can shoot iron, or whatever will interact with the magnetic field that we're creating. In this case, it's the magnet. So we can, shoot a very high rate of fire, and there's no explosions, so we don't have to worry about one end of the barrel blowing apart like they do with tanks. These days I see that, the place where the shell is put into the chamber, there's extra support there. It's like clamped together, extra thick, because that's where the explosion happens, and they're worried about it blowing the barrel apart. Whereas when the projectile begins to travel down the barrel, the compression has room to expand in the barrel. That's why at the end of the barrel, it doesn't need to be reinforced. Okay, that's the problem with explosions. It just happens here. Whereas with electromagnetism, it's happening along the whole barrel. Zip, 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 and it's just increasing its speed as it's evenly distributed. Zip. So there is no explosion. There's no worries of things peeling apart. Another problem that we have with weapons, and we're going to apply weapons to, of course, propulsion for our ships as well. Anything that, all right, let me finish with this. Another problem that we would have with our weapons is heat. Heat causes expansion. Okay, now we can fire cool ammunition, even ice. Ice, with little iron balls frozen inside. The iron interacts with the magnetism, and the ice keeps the barrel cool. And the ice that we can create out of the air or out of the water with our energy. We can make ice balls. How do we make it out of the air? Well, compressed air equals water, which is why we have water in air compressor tanks. Because really air is just diffused water. It's diffused. Everything is really made of the same substance. It's all atoms, right? It's just a matter of how dense those atoms are, or how decompressed they are, how they're broken apart. So we can take anything that's broken apart and bring it back together with energy. If really atoms are magnetic particles, we can just bring it back together with the correct frequency. Of course, with some of our experiments, we can really create a black hole with our HARKenergy. And maybe I should share this now because I left it out of the other videos, not on purpose, just because there's so much going on here. There's so many synapses. They say that I'm manic. Well, it's not so much manic. It's just that there's so many different angles of the diamonds, and we could go in so many directions with any thought. I can forget what I'm talking about, what I began to talk about, because I'm on another trail. That doesn't mean that the trail I'm on doesn't have a destination and that it's not true. It's, it's still good information. It's just a matter of dividing it correctly and then still reversing and going back to our origins inside of the diamond. There's many angles to look at, and they're all beautiful. Okay, so we have our HARKenergy here. And I explained this in another video, right? How these are the coils of gold or copper, and the magnets spin inside of our copper. Now, also inside of that, inside of the hole of the magnet, we have another coil in here and a coil around the outside. Two trailer park girls go around the outside. Around the outside, around the outside. Now I know this is in here. It's at the very front. My books are falling apart. We better hurry up, world, before everything falls apart here and I lose all the information. I'll have to draw it all again, or before our world's destroyed. This represents the coil, or the cylinder that our magnet goes inside of. And so there's copper all around, or we could say gold, or there's many different ways to collect energy, even crystal or, liquid, just as a fluorescent light bulb can conduct the energy across the gas particles inside the tube. We can also have liquid that has particles inside of it and collect the energy. It's just what works best. What do you want to use? Shall we make ice? Shall we use crystals? If we make the cylinder out of crystals rather than copper or gold, well, there's many different things to play with, and we have many departments. Each can focus on a different, and we just need to be able to communicate with each other and check the numbers and see what numbers equal what. And we'll put together the most, supreme, perfect device. Okay, anyway. So our magnet spins inside of there and collects the vibration, which then we can feed. Not only are we gathering vibration in the center, but also around the outside, and then we can take that energy to an electric motor, which then can have a gear and spin our magnet. And this, of course, could have our speed control. How fast do we want the magnet to go? And then one magnet, of course, spins 8 magnets. So if it takes the energy of one of these to produce the energy to increase the speed of one of these, then we're multiplying by only 7, or really 14, depending on if we have enough energy just from the outer coil, or maybe the inner coil is extra. I don't know. That's why we have to run the numbers. But I guarantee by at least 2 of these, we'll have enough energy for one to increase its own speed, which then interacts with all of them. So therefore, we're multiplying our energy by either 7 or 14, or maybe only 6 and 12. Isn't that enough for you? Because as we increase our speed, the interest is compounding, greater and greater. This is the power of the sun in our hand. Okay, Iron Man. And also, I don't know if I shared in the other video, but here we have 8 electrons around our center nucleus, which is made up of then 8 waves, 8 positives and 8 negatives, 8 protons and 8 neutrons. 8 and 8 and 8, which equals oxygen. So we've created oxygen. And that's what we need then to live, but also to push water's hydrogen apart, or also to marry with hydrogen to equal H2O. So that's right, here's our energy to create new worlds. Okay, but besides this, and along with this picture here, to illustrate our little motor, and don't I have more pictures? Okay, we have these pictures here. You know, we have our 8 magnets. 8 blue because 8 are spinning clockwise, 8 are spinning counterclockwise, above and below. We have down here an electric motor, up here an electric motor. If we want to do it that way, it's just one idea. Then this motor powers, we can have it power all 4 if we want. We should have enough energy from one of these to spin them, which then controls 4 on this side, and this one controls the 4 on this side. So now we have control of our device. Okay, and we can have stored energy. Of course, we can cycle our energy. We can make a battery that just cycles the energy. So we have powered backup, if you want to say. Okay. So as I was trying to illustrate in here, this is an electric motor, right? But really, we can make the cylinder the electric motor. Do I have to go get my cup? I have to get my cup. My cylinder. Where are you, cup? Try to show here. I don't know if this is a good one because it's like transparent. So this is not a good cup because you can see through it. So our magnet goes inside our cylinder. And let's say that we have small electromagnets all the way around. All the way around. Bloop, 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 bloop. And they can be then either north or south pole, right? We could just by switching the charge. So that can actually cause our magnet to hover inside of here. If this side of the magnet is like a north, then we have our electromagnets up here north. So it's pushing in. And then on the other side, it's doing the opposite, right? If this is our south side, then this is south. So it causes our magnet to hover inside of here. And then this one then can be, okay, so let's say this is north up here. So this can be north, a little bit to the side, right here. Let's say there's a line of norths. So that'll push. It'll also push this way. While on this side, it's south, pulling. And that just cycles around. And we can cause this then to become our electric motor. So we don't need to have that apart from the device. So again, everything comes back into just the cylinder. The cylinder becomes not only the collection of the energy, as there's gold or copper around and within, but there's also little electromagnets that we can charge to cause the magnet to hover inside, which equals 0 friction, which equals 100% sustainable perpetual motion. Because what's going to be interfering? Nothing. Nothing. Actually, we're helping because we're taking some of the energy and using it to turn our magnet. Or we can do that to cause this to stop spinning one way and immediately spin the other way. So say if this is also our 8-barreled jet engine, and each one of these is really a propeller with a vacuum tube, you know, we could have these stacked inside, and they have propellers on them which suck air in one way, and we can instantly reverse that to blow, so we can instantly, as we're traveling, and go back the other way. Does that make sense? My idea was, though, because I like to have backup, was to have, I mean, I kind of like that idea, though, because then we could use the same propellers both ways. It'd have to be pretty rugged material to be able to take the reverse motion, you know, because when you're pulling air in, you have that density and that compression, which then if you instantly reverse and go the other way, that's going to be a lot of torque. So we might not want to just and go back the other way. We might want to slow and then slowly go back. Or the idea was to have double arcs. So we have two of these inside of a tube, one spinning one way and the other spins the other way, except only one propeller is engaged at a time. So we have one arc engaged. This one's pulling us forward, but when we want to hit reverse, this is disengaged from its propellers and the reverse is engaged through a magnetic clutch. We don't need gears and metal. We can use magnetism as clutches, and then there's no wear and tear because it's just magnetism, and we, you know, can grab onto things. Does that make sense? So then we could reverse and go back, and then we have double protection. So say we can cause this to go both ways. So say the other one is spinning the opposite direction. This one we're pulling forward, and as this one's disengaged, it slows down. We grab on the other one, which is spinning the other way already, and that spins our propellers the opposite way, which then immediately begins to slow us down, while this one reverses directions or whatever and speeds up, and we can grab onto another set of props. So it's like double. Just for example, we have options, is what I'm saying. So then we can create different shapes for propellers. Some really grab on, some are for higher speeds, some are for lower speeds, right? So that would be the way we could adjust directions from one way to the other using a double arc. And that way when we re-engage, so say this one has our deep cut propellers for really grabbing onto a lot of air or water, right? For going fast. So once we shift using our other arc, which has, you know, a smaller bend in the propeller, so it's not as much tension on the material. So, you know, it's kind of like a smooth altercation. I don't know if you understand what I mean, but, you know, it's in here. That's why I need people to help me draft, to help me design, and to sit with me and ask questions. Is this what you mean? Yes. Or no. Or yeah, and how about this too? You know, it's good to have conversations like the King's Round Table. We need, you know, the wise men to gather together and a director to help direct the information. All right. And someone to help me stay on track because there's a lot of tracks to take. So we wanted to do some propulsion, right? So, well, we just went over that design. We can get into some ship designs. Do I have our, which one's that in this book? See, as I was drawing designs, I was going through. I have a problem on my computer with these antiviruses. I guess I have to upgrade. Although I did pay for antivirus, but it's like asking me to do all this stuff. Like, just do your job. As if we even have antivirus. I think the real virus is the antivirus programs, because as soon as they run out, then they're sending me all their advertisements. You need Norton. You need Norton. Well, no, you are the problem. Leave me alone. They create problems and then offer the solutions. I'm sure it's the same programmers who made the antivirus who made the viruses. We already know how they work. These people, man, just make everything difficult when we're really the rest of the world is just waiting and wanting to work together to create something beautiful. But the only hindrance is the leaders. Like, what is your problem, Illuminati? What's your problem? I'm failing to see what are you getting out of this? All I hear is crickets. What, a couple fast cars? Well, you're still stuck on the ground. I don't see you flying around. I don't see you living in homes in the heavens. I don't see you living any longer than anyone else. You die just like men. You work just as hard as anyone else. You might think that you don't. Do you really have time to go explore your lands? What, you ride horses a little bit, maybe a little bit? That's not living life. We should be doing life every day. Vacation all the time, creating all the time. And I'm going to help you build that if your leaders will shut their fat mouths and listen up. You're all fired. You are the dragon that's pouring out the lies and the babble. The only thing wrong with the earth is the people in control of it. We need a new leader. I hereby nominate myself for president. You don't have to, vote for the two turds that they tell you to choose between, red shit or blue shit. You can, write a different name in the box and then put a check mark. Be like, no, we don't like our choices. I don't want to, pull up to McDonald's and have to choose between a shit burger and a piss burger. No thanks. I'm not eating here. We'll go make our own food. We'll elect our own leader. You're all fired. Let's kick them out. Even the soldiers, you would think that they would want to join because I can help you upgrade your weapons and your jets. And for a time, you work for me, and we're going to take our weapons down, and we're going to fix the earth. We're going to, as the scripture says, turn our swords into plows, and we're going to fix our polluted and destroyed planet before it's too late. And then after we've cleaned up our garbage, then we can have our war games. We'll have, at some point along the way, eternal life, married to ourselves. So then it won't matter when we have our war games with our lasers and our electromagnetic weapons, which will just cause us to separate. So say each one of our atoms, our cells, has its own energy because we marry together our energy and oxygen with it, so it becomes its independent life. Zzz. Each one has its own computer chip, and it knows its number, and it knows where it belongs. It has its own memory. You could put a lot of information in a chip, almost more information than a man can fit in his brain. So if each one of our little cells has all this, it's independent, right? And we know to come together. Control. This is the control, the processor. So we have a processor, and then we have memory and information, and we all interact together as in one body. But if we decide we want to become something else or transport ourselves, we can turn into dust, into individual atoms. Dust. And ride the waves or come back in together as something else. Say you want to be an eagle, come back together as an eagle. Or transport ourselves through phones, airwaves, lasers, beams of energy, just like Star Trek. We could do all that. But the same thing is, when we're playing our war games, if you shoot a laser, which is really just magnetism again, it's energy, vibration, and it blows chunks off of us, it's just how they interact. Our bodies will interact with their weapons. So it appears as though we take damage. So then we can have our war games where we literally, can shoot each other to pieces and just respawn back at base or whatever, and live forever. Or we could sit out. We sit out of bounds till the rest of the game's over, whatever game you're playing, and then we can still have our wars. We can design wars. We can play chess, have our races and whatever. And we can do it all safely. So even the soldiers, you would think that you would want to agree to follow me instead of these corrupt leaders who cause you to go kill yourselves, where there's no coming back from that until we design the time machine and can go back in time and gather ourselves and bring ourselves forward in time. I believe that's how, that's what the scripture means by bringing the people back to life, or the second resurrection. But we have to master our time machines, and we have to master our eternal life and some of our ships and all this. But before we can even do that, we have to build the energy. But before we can do that, we have to get the world to listen to someone other than these people. And before we can do that, the world doesn't even know who I am. So, hello, my name is William Henry Ryland IV. I fulfilled the prophecies in Revelations 12 when I traveled over to Gambia in September 2017 when the sign was fulfilled in the heavens. And that's another video that I have on my other channel. And of course, there's even more information than what I've given there. And this energy device will fulfill Revelations 21 and 22. It's even the name of 9 as written in the scriptures, and says, we will no longer need the light of the sun for day or the moon by night, for 9 will be an everlasting light. 9 will be your energy. Same thing it says in Isaiah 60 and Revelations. And also in Isaiah 60, it says, instead of iron, I bring gold. Instead of brass, I bring whatever, wood. Or I mean, instead of wood, I bring brass. I mean, what I'm saying is with L, we can turn stones into gold, because we can reprogram the patterns of the atoms within the materials to make them into something else. But that was also another. Anyway, I wanted to get into more propulsion. So let's go into this design. And I might have gone over this in another video. I don't remember what all I put in my videos. So I need editors. I know that I've forgotten to put some things in. Maybe I'm repeating myself. Oh, since I just passed this, then I have to get into all that. Let's skip that one. That's one of our jet engines, but I have to then explain the magnetic ball bearings and how they work with our magnets. So I wanted to get into our, I like this one. And I might have gone over this in one of my other videos. Did I go over this? Right, these are speakers, and this represents a box. The speakers are in a box, and vibration, we cause this to can suck in one and blow out the other with one-way electronic valves. But I wanted to add that together with our, I think I did have this in one of my last videos, but I don't know, because I deleted some of my videos too. People are just, the world really disturbs me how greedy people are, but still I'm just trying to lead by example and say, look, we don't have to go around and I wish we could just trust each other. Why do we have to patent protect everything? It's such a pain in the ass with all the red tape, just because of a couple people are greedy at the top, and then everyone follows suit because they're like, they're doing it, so I'm going to do it too. No, we could be better than them. Don't you think I want to bless you with everything? And that's why, everything that we create together will be for all creation. With this electromagnetic pipe, of course, we understand how electromagnet works, right? And we have a positive and a negative, and that causes which I believe what really happens here is we're creating a magnetic field which causes the atoms to line up within the center. We're pushing it in, which then would create better conductivity, much like superconductivity takes sub-zero temperatures, because I believe it causes the atoms then to freeze and hold still. So then the energy is able to find a more consistent or straight line. Because imagine now on a warm day with everything bouncing around and moving around, like the lightning is following trying to get to the ground. But if everything's frozen, it's just going to, and it's going to know where to go. Tries to find a straight line. So if we're frozen apart, imagine if we can push our atoms together all in a straight line. So then we'll have superconductivity, and we can shoot our energy down the particles. Okay. So I believe part of that is what we do with an electromagnet, because we have our coil, which is going to interact with the particles here. But because we have plus on one side and minus, and we're cycling, energy is flowing one direction, it's causing the particles inside of the iron to also go that direction. Now, if we spread this apart, I'm sure we will increase the speed. Where are we? Where are you? So if we start like this, is that right? sorry, like this, but then we make the space longer between and we increase our energy. I'm not sure how much energy we can put into a coil that's wrapped this tight without it producing heat, like a light bulb, when the little coils are too close together. Anyway, we might be able to give more energy if it's like this, and increase. Those are things that, of course, we have to experiment with. And people are asking me, do you have any working models? No, I only have enough money to eat every week. The rest of my time is dedicated to drafting and designing and thinking. A lot of problem solving happens right in here. I've upgraded the designs multiple times just in my own mind. Anytime I'm just thinking about one thing, parts are added to it, but I can only focus on one thing at a time. So if you bring to me a problem and say, well, how are we going to do such and such? Then I can focus on that problem and present you with solutions. But that's going to also take some thought sometimes. Sometimes it comes immediately. It's just all a matter of focus. Okay, so we understand how this can pull on one end, it's an electromagnet, and push on the other. And the reason I have a tip here is the way that we design our electromagnets, the magnetic field will copy that shape. So this should bring our magnetic field into a point, which then our point will enter, is the opposite of a donut because this has a hole. So our point goes into the hole, which will cause this magnet to hover over our energy. So now if we boost our energy, we can cause this to hover over the point of energy in the sky, and we can build our city on a magnetic field. Now, that doesn't mean that our foundation for the city has to literally be a whole magnet, but we could just have little earth magnets around in a circle just to artificially reproduce or copy the shape of this to lock with the shape of our point. Do you get my point? All right. Ow. Poor baby. Okay, so we were on our part. Okay, so here. Now, if we cause a flow to go through a solid pipe, we're pulling the particles through something solid. It'll also work with liquid. So if we wrap this coils around say an iron pipe, and within the pipe we have water, and we charge this, it most likely would cause the water to flow through the pipe in the direction of the electromagnetic field flow, right? So this is a pump, and it also has a magnetic field, which then we can pulse and pump, which then can work with our heart. Because if the hole here is our pipe going through the hole, and our speakers are around the outside of here, and we're pulsing, it's causing this to pump as well. So we're pumping in here, and we're pumping around the outside, around the outside, around the outside. Except for we could have 4 trailer park girls around the outside instead of 2. 4 trailer park speakers. And if we want, we can have it pump this direction and this direction. You have your center pumping, and then you have a space. So we can have flow and flow, and that's all possible with the type of materials that we use. We can even double layer these ideas. Here's just one layer. And then say over top of this, we wrap this with aluminum, which cuts off the magnetic field, and then wrap it the other direction with coils, right? Which will then, okay, let me explain that. If we're pulling something through this way, it's going to cause our pipe to want to go this way. So we're pulling this way, it's causing this to go this way. So to counteract that, say we want our pipe to pump water without it causing our pipe to move, because movement equals weight, I guess you could say. So we want to equal 0 weight, or to just hover and suck. So then we just counteract the pipe's pull by wrapping, with our aluminum, and then wrapping the other direction with copper to match this, to cause our pipe to want to pull the other direction as much as it's pulling this way to pull the other way. We want to match that energy so it stays still, but still is able to pump through its center. Does that make sense? Now, this same concept can be used for propulsion. If our ships have a magnetic field, when we're able to shift from side to side, positive or negative, that'll interact with the energy around us in the aether, in the air, and the magnetic particles, which will pull us into one direction and push us the other direction. It should. Also, of course, we had our energy beam. I just showed you how we can lift a city or a magnet with an energy beam. Energy beam could be a laser beam. A laser beam is just colored energy. We can see it because we're shooting the laser through a ruby, and a ruby is a color. So we're really projecting. All we're doing is projecting that color and that material so we can see the electromagnetic energy. But without that ruby, we use something clear, we're still shooting that same amount of energy. We just can't see it, right? And, I was reading these things where they're like talking about, well, someday we'll be able to conduct energy wirelessly. Yeah, we can already do that. Yeah, I can go outside and shine this laser on my solar panel lights and charge the light. My lights could be dead right now, and I'll go out and shine this laser on it for a minute and they'll come on. So we can already, there's vibration going through this laser. Now I thought of, even multiplying just this by taking a diamond, shining this through a diamond and splitting apart the rays, and then inside of a glass mirror. So all the rays are bouncing around different directions and they stay inside. Would the light stay inside of a glass ball if you shine it inside? And if so, then is that stored up energy? And will a diamond inside of that multiply the beams of energy? Are we able to withdraw some of the energy and leave the rest in there just by having like a pinhole and allowing, one of the angles of the diamond to shine the energy out while the rest of them are shining back and forth inside of the diamond and glass ball? Those are things I would play with if I could. Do you have a prototype? Dude, I can't afford a diamond. I'm just trying to eat every day. Do you want to maybe fund me? Or put me in a lab and maybe have like some communications? It's a little frustrating because I had these ideas 2 years ago. Is it over 2 years? Of course, we've been building since then. Now I'm backed up. I have so much information to give. Just waiting on you people. What do you mean, you people? Oh, man. Well, that's our problem, isn't it? I think we're just all so polluted that we're like zombies. Just get over, we can have some jokes. We can call each other names. Yeah, I have bald head, big ears, big nose, whatever. Honky. What do they call white people? Tupac. That's what they called me in Africa. Tupac. Tupac is like, I'm not Tupac. Who's, Tupac? Well, I know who Tupac is. I was like, I'm not Tupac. Like, no, Tupac. I was like, what does that mean? They said, white man. Oh, I said, don't call me white man. I'll be offended. Because really, that's what some of our language means. Negro is Spanish for black. And so is the Nigger word, which is almost so offensive that you can't even say it, but it just means black. Like, why? What's wrong with their world? We get so offended about descriptions. Like you call gay guys faggots, which means a bundle of sticks. It just means a bundle of dicks because they put their bundles together. So what? So get over it. It's a description. Anyway, it's like we have these problems in the world that's not allowing us to communicate. Well, we don't want to receive because of the color of the skin. Do I have to rip my skin off so you can see that I'm red underneath, just as any other man is red? We're red men. We have different color cars. Will you drive a white car, a white Ferrari, black Ferrari? Hey, as long as it has an engine, it's good to go, right? And some brakes, that would be nice. Speaking of suspension and brakes, and since we're talking about propulsion and ships, before we can really get into the ships, let's talk about some cars and suspension. Springs, boring. Let's not do springs anymore. Let's move ahead to, and I was playing with this back when I was a little baby. Magnetism. Look at that spring. Look at that bounce back. Boing, 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 boing. Boy, that's sucking up the road. Now imagine if that's electromagnetism, then we can control the energy and cause us to go farther apart or closer together or farther apart. So then we can use that to give our car wedge. Say when we're going around a turn, this is the outside. We open it up, so it tilts. So I want to go turning this way. So the side of my car tilts into the turn, right? And not only that, but if we're braking, you know, as our car would tend to go in this way, and we're braking, it tends to lift up in the back and push down in the front. So then we just reverse it with our electromagnetic suspension in the front. We push back up, and then that'll push the car down in the back, stay level, and then give us traction in the rear as much as we have in the front for braking. So then we can put on the same size rotors and brakes on the front and rear brakes. But not like we just have to stop with brakes and rotors. We can also use blowback. You know, as your intake in the car is sucking in air, it's also blowing out exhaust. Now, if we're stopping, why don't we just reverse that and blow out the front and suck in the rear? You know, or we can have compressed air stored up. Because truly, our engines don't have to be combustible petroleum poop, carbon monoxide poisoning, oxygen burning engines anymore, but we can do. And you know, the car manufacturers, you are all welcome for these technologies. And what's the problem? Because you're worried about that you won't be able to continually sell fuel? Well, then sell energy. Just charge. We could charge one fee per person. We can lease the vehicles, unlimited use, pay a monthly fee for whatever design we're using. You know, for the better ones, of course, the higher tech ones will cost more on a lease that we're just paying for unlimited usage. So, I mean, there's ways to still make money, or you can charge time. But I mean, why do we have to beat each other down? Because you're also driving them. We just need to be able to produce enough currency to fund our programs in our factories and things. So I'm saying, like, why don't these different car companies join in together and we'll begin building our ships, which I do have designs, but we can even just take our cars and turn them into transformers. We can take out the engines we have now and put in the other engine that I was trying to show you. The one that I began this teaching with, our piston drive. I knew you're in here. Yeah, I know it's in this book. I think it's before that page. Yeah, there it is. You know, we can, this is a piston too, inside of a cylinder. So you can, you know, hook this up to the drivetrain, and look, you don't even need a transmission. You just control the speed of the energy. This can go as fast as you want it to go. Inside of copper, magnets almost just hover inside. So, you know, that's not nearly as much friction as you have inside of your combustible engines. There will not be nearly as much heat. There won't be parts melting down. You can go just incredible speeds with this, as fast as you want or as slow as you want, using electromagnetism. And you don't have to worry about then a transmission. You just have your programming, your chip. And you don't have to have complicated rods and things for steering when we have each wheel hub with its own energy, right? And you just, like, I guess we could have a control box. We want to use magnetism as much as possible because magnetism doesn't break. Oh, speaking of steering, we should do that. It's an important part. All right, I think we have some designs here, and the others are in the book. So this represents a glass ball, or just a ball, and each one of these little dots represents an electromagnet or a cell. And our cell, of course, you know, is numbered. They're all numbered. The ball can represent a spinning ball Earth. If we lived on a spinning ball Earth, which we don't, we're going to turn the video off now because he said that. Oh, wait, you haven't even seen any of the proofs of what we're not on. Don't turn the video off now. Just, let's pretend that we live on a spinning ball. Let's pretend this is our spinning ball, and let's pretend that these are the coordinates on our ball. So then we know our location. Now all we just need is a reader, a receiver. Do I have a copy of that here? To read our location and to send energy to cause our ball to turn indefinitely in any direction. I don't even want to say 360 degrees. There are no degrees. It can keep turning. So, is that the right side? So this just, is that upside down? This just represents, of course, our socket receiver, which then we have here drawn. This was drawn up way back in the caveman days. I had this drawn up back in my cave. Oh, I'm still in my cave. Anyway. Oh, here we are. Trying to illustrate here. Makes sense in the mind. Mayan. I'm a Mayan. The Mayan of mine. Mine. My mind. Here's my mind. I'm trying to draw it and illustrate it for you. Here's our glass ball. Here's our receiver. You know, it's both a clock and a compass, right? So this can turn inside of here. However we want this to work. You know, grabs onto the ball. We shoot. Where's our other picture? Where are you? Oh, just trying to illustrate how, you know, the magnetism, if we shoot a charge across zzz, and it causes that cell of the ball to travel with the charge zzz, and then turns it, you know, zzz, and goes whatever direction, then it could grab the next one. Zzz, so it just pulses and causes our ball to spin however we want it to spin. So now we have steering for all of our components and all of our components that have their own energy. So it's not like we have to run wires. We don't need a wiring harness. We don't need bars. We don't need any of these complicated mechanics anymore. All we need is a ball and socket and our energy. That's it. And computer chips. And we can Bluetooth the components to our fuselage or our ship, whatever you want to call it. Which we have some designs here. We're still going over propulsion. We have our cones. We went over one type of propulsion, right? The heartbeat. The heart. That can literally be a human heart and replace the hearts we have now. We could just plug that in and play our heart rhythm through it. Connected to our nervous system. You know, our mind tells it how fast to beat. And we can also have an external controller if we want. So say I start running, I want to turn my heart up myself, you know, okay. Whoa, slow down. Also, we can use that whole heart idea as a pump, as an engine, and to pull us. That's another concept. And we can put many of these ideas together, whatever you want to do. With that design, there's not so much wear and torque on propeller blades with that design, because it's just really just energy. So that would be almost a better propulsion concept. And here we have that same idea. Let me go back to our speaker. I already showed you this in another video, but whatever. You have to keep going over and over. As Bush says, you know, you have to catapult the propaganda. Sometimes you have to keep speaking the truth for them to get the truth. Well, he was talking about lies. You know, when they say something, it's usually the opposite of what they say. I'm telling you the truth. If you were telling me the truth, maybe you don't have to tell me the truth. I think I'd recognize it. You know, like jet fuel. Jet fuel only burns half the temperature it takes for melt or for steel to melt. So I know that your little twin tower thing is just a bunch of bullshit, and that jet fuel didn't knock down the towers that were hit on the top floors down to their foundations, which were holding up the top floors the whole time. All of a sudden they can't hold up the top floors. What, did the heat transmit through the whole structure, and all of a sudden it just fell at, you know, the speed of, you know, fall down into dust? Yeah, I don't think so. We don't want to hear your propaganda, how 3 towers fall from 2 aluminum airplanes, aluminums that fly through the grade A structural steel. Yeah, I don't think aluminum would fly through grade A structural steel that was built to withstand multiple hits by multiple airplanes. Thank you for your propaganda bullshit. Anyway, as I was saying before I got into these conspiracies, because I'm some crazy conspiracy theorist who just, you know, doesn't believe that we live on a spinning ball, that NASA, you know, they're able to benefit off of this to the tune of $22 billion a year. $22 billion a year. How many millions are in a billion? Yeah, 22 of those 1 million millions in a billion. 22. So there's no motivation there to lie to you. And certainly they're not paying everyone to continue to lie. They're not benefiting from that. They can't bribe a lot of people with $22 billion. And certainly $22 billion couldn't feed all the hungry people in the world. Let's go explore and see if we can find a new planet to go to, because we destroyed this one with our lies. No, how about this? Stop lying and stop destroying this one. Invest the $22 billion in healing this planet, and then you won't have to go anywhere. Retards. What is wrong with these? Arrest them all. Anyway, what is going on with our armed forces and our generals and the people? Are you all paid off? Who cares then? Take the money, take your handcuffs, take your guns that they've, you know, allowed you to build, and go arrest them, and then we'll have a new leader and a new earth. We could just cast all the blame on them, okay? Whatever, you were paid off for a time. Okay, now repent. That means stop following the lies. Because the future on a happy, healthy earth is much greater than the slavery, because you're slave to the lies. You have to do what they say or you don't receive the money. And you know that they're evil. They kidnap your own children. Everyone's related to someone, and someone who's had their child kidnapped and raped. Do you love this? So you're supporting rape now? This is what we're supposed to be defending. So what do you stand for? Where's your honor? Warriors, go arrest your leaders. What are they going to do? Are they going to fight off their armed forces? With what? They're too pussy to come down here and just get me themselves. They have to send someone else to do it. How many times have I called Satan out? I said, send your leader down here. He's too much of a bitch. Your God is a bitch. He doesn't have any powers. I'll kick his ass. He can't even beat me in the word game. Can't beat me in word game. He can't beat me on the racetrack. He can't beat me at anything. You suck. Anyway, sorry about that. Let's just say that I'm manic or I have Tourette's or something. You know, you need your medication. Medicate him until he is narrow-minded and believes that he's on a spinning ball. Yeah, maybe the world is dizzy. Anyway, we won't get into the flat earth and spinning ball proofs right now. We won't talk about how if we're spinning 1,040 miles an hour, which is faster than the speed of sound, which is only 760 miles an hour. How are we even able to hear ourselves speak when we're on the equator, which is spinning faster than the poles? And if we're spinning faster at the equator than we are at the poles, shouldn't the sun fly by at the equator and travel slowly at the poles? So shouldn't the days be much shorter at the equator than they are at the poles? But this isn't what we see. And if the Earth is north and southern hemisphere and the Earth is spinning 1,040 miles an hour, the top hemisphere is spinning clockwise, and then the bottom would be spinning counterclockwise because you're upside down, which would mean that to the perspective of the viewer in one hemi, to the perspective of the viewer in the other hemi, the sky would spin opposite directions. So that means the stars in the southern hemisphere would be going counterclockwise, along with the sun, and the moon would be going counterclockwise. Is that what you see? No. Obviously, it's a lie. Is that enough proof, or do we want to talk about how gravity magically is able to hold waters in upside down when the waters are even traveling different speeds? Because if they're spinning 1,040 miles an hour at the equator, then they're not moving nearly as fast at the poles. And somehow the waters don't fly off at the equator, or they're not pushed down from the poles to the equator to make a pancake, as anything else would be. If you're spinning a tennis ball that has water on it, it all flies off at the equator. But no, that's not what happens on our spinning ball Earth, because our spinning ball Earth is some kind of magical lie. Let's not talk about that, though, because I'm just some crazy conspiracy theorist. I wanted to show you about propulsion and things. Don't tune me out yet, because I might bring up some scriptures, too, that'll really get the people to run. All I have to do is mention Bible. See you guys. I might as well end the video now. I said Bible. Here we have a speaker with cones. Cones, which according to even nature, if you look at a dragonfly's wing under a microscope, it has little cones underneath, same as a bee. And they buzz their little wings, don't they? Zzz, which the cones then push away from the tip. You would think, if we do think anymore, and we're not just all poisoned from carbon monoxide, we would think that that the would push away from its tip. So then most likely, not only can we put a speaker face down on the ground and turn that up, and the vibration would cause us to hover off the floor, but if we add some cones to that, imagine we would go even higher. And let's amplify that and go up, or we can use it to, with our little ball and sockets, we can point these any direction we want and use that to move. Now imagine we can lift some pretty heavy objects with this concept. Just get many of these speakers. But not like we have to do that once we develop our tractor beams. We can just clamp on an electromagnet to, say, a huge rock pillar. Electromagnet is just a magnet. It's a magnet. And we have our ships that are flying that shoots an energy beam. They attract together and pulls the pillar up into the sky. And we have, as much as we're pushing, we're pulling, or pulling, we're pushing, to keep it from colliding into our ship, which we have illustrated here. This represents a pull, right? Because if we could shoot a push beam, we can also have a pull beam. As above, so below, east and west, north and south, male and female. Every action has an opposite and equal reaction. So if we can shoot an energy beam forward, we can also pull. So if this is the magnetic field of a ship or magnetic field of anything, if we have our energy device that is creating a magnetic field, we can clamp that onto anything and then manipulate it with our tractor beam. So we can pull it in, but as we're pulling it in, we don't want to crash into our device, so we have push beams as well. We just tune them to have a little bit less energy than this. So really, this represents our center pull, and these are our 4 pushes to keep, balance, to keep a little distance away, to control how close we bring things, or if we want to set them back down. So we can build with energy. Really, if we build our products out of electromagnets, like say we have a huge rock pillar, and then we could just cut out a hole through the center and put a pipe, electromagnetic pipe, which then will give the whole thing magnetism. You know, and we could easily drill a hole with a laser. We don't have to, you know, use our iron to cut rock and like dull. Our blades are always getting dull and we have diamonds and blah. We could just use energy. Really, a laser is an expression of energy. We don't even have to have a laser, but it's just helpful for seeing. And, you know, if a laser is a magnetic field, an energy, which is magnetism, then we can also bend the laser with magnetic field. So we can bend it around and bend it back. So then we have a cutting tool. Oh, now we have a lightsaber. Or if we have something like, oh, I almost fell out of my rocking chair. Something. Where are you? Well, where did I draw? Oh, that's on this other picture here. Something like this. Or even our pipe. Our pipe can always project magnetic field. Where are you? Something like this, right? So imagine like these little, this is a circle, right? And we're projecting that circle forward, but it's slightly pointed in. So it meets at some point, right? And then we could shoot like an energy beam into the center and it won't go past the points of that. So, I mean, that's kind of a way of creating a lightsaber. But I like the other idea of bending the energy around as well. You know, we have options. We can use that to cut, of course. What else? Oh, when we make our building products, when they become electromagnet, then not only can we use that to lift them and move them around.
Hi.
Hey. Oh, all right, I'll make another video some other time. I have company. Sorry we didn't get into everything. We'll just call this part 1, okay? Tune in for more later. Shalom, peace.
I don't want to be in your video.